Are you also basking in the glow of being third in the league? You should be. I certainly am. Imagine how good it'll be when we actually start to click. Potentially exciting times again at Spurs, albeit with three very tough games to come. I'll be discussing the fallout from our win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, as well as the latest Tottenham transfer news on today's episode. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. If you're on YouTube, please do give this video a like. Please do press that subscribe button. And if you're listening as an audio podcast, please do give me a rating as well and a review. Really appreciate your support, guys. Thanks so much. Let's get started with the Tottenham transfer news. Juventus defender Pierre Kalulu is emerging as a target for Tottenham as well as Newcastle. What would I say about that? What a surprise. Don Fabio Paratici comes back in as sporting director, and suddenly Spurs are linked with pretty much the entirety of the Juventus squad. Let's see what happens. It's an easy link to make as far as I'm concerned. And the Italian journalists, they're pretty, let's just say, they're in with the agents, they're in with the club. So there may be some truth to it. Let's see what happens. And of course, Spurs have been looking for another centre-back and another centre-back, ideally, who can play full-back as well for a while. And it hasn't been helped at all, has it, that Ben Davies has got injured. Obviously, Christian Romero has got injured as well, although hopefully Romero will be back very soon. He is back training on the grass. Tottenham have joined Man United and Man City in the race to sign sporting midfielder Morten Hjulmand in January. However, the Portuguese club are confident the Danish star will stay until at least the summer. He's been on our list for a long time. Another kind of 6'8" variant of a player. I'm sure if he came, that would wind up a lot of the Tottenham fan base who don't like Polina and Bentancur playing together, because Hjulmand likes to concentrate on his defensive aspects as well, but also very good at breaking forward. So let's see what happens with that. We do love a Scandinavian player. Obviously, Johan Lange there as a sporting director as well. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was some truth to that as well. But if we're fighting Man City and Man United for a player, realistically, unless the Lewis family are really making changes to the wage structure, that's going to be a difficult one to realistically get over the line. Spurs and Man City apparently keeping tabs on England and Aston Villa defender Ezri Konsa. The 28-year-old also being tracked by Chelsea, Liverpool and Man United over the past 12 months. Also, Italian giants Inter Milan, Napoli and Leipzig interested in Konsa. For me, Konsa's next move is going to be a huge one, isn't it? He's really impressed for England. He's doing really well for Aston Villa. Played brilliantly against Spurs the other week. Big, powerful defender, can outpace pretty much anyone. Spurs have previously gone for Mark Gay. That didn't get over the line. I'm sure he'll get a move to a bigger club with his contract running out. And Konsa may be looking for one more big move in the rest of his career, be it that he's 28 years old. So let's see what happens there. Everton, after losing 3-0 at home to Spurs yesterday, looking to re-sign Richarlison from Spurs. And Thomas Frank could be willing to sell him to fund new purchases. Also a report that Bournemouth rejected a £50 million offer from Spurs for Antoine Semenyo at the start of the summer. For me, that's an example of someone we should have gone all out to buy. We should have gone to 70 million. But at the time, and hopefully it's only at the time, because I'm really got my fingers crossed that things will change under the Lewis family, Viv and Charlie. Hopefully we will now start going to that 70 and 80 million pound mark that you really need to get proper top level players across the line, players that you're not really taking a risk on their potential on. And I would say Antoine Semenyo is one of them. We should have done that in the summer, and maybe we'd be in an even better position than third had we done that. Okay, let's go into some of the fallout from yesterday's game. I did a review last night. Hopefully you've seen that. I was pretty pumped up after the game. I was very frustrated in the second half with us not keeping the ball. But realistically, when you think about it in a considered manner, the day after, any win away from home in the Premier League is brilliant, especially a 3-0 win at a new stadium where they'd never been beaten before. So very impressive. Thomas Frank said this: I'm very, very happy with that. I think overall a solid performance. Especially pleased with the first half. I think we were good in phase 1 and phase 2. More passes, control of the game, more in phases in general. I think that's because he played that kind of 4-2-2-2 formation where the two double pivots, Polina and Bentancur, had help down the middle, down the spine of the team from Siemens and Kudus on the ball. That really helped us. And I'd like to see that again at Newcastle on Wednesday night. Thomas Frank went on to say the second half was a little bit more of a dogfight. Coming here to Everton, which is against a very good team, well set up by David Moyes, with a good home crowd. They've been unbeaten here so far. So to go to any ground in the Premier League to win 3-0 away from home is a very good result. So yes, very happy with obviously the set pieces as well. What I would say, the clean sheet mentality, that's a very good foundation to stand on. It gives you an ability to perform at a certain level where you want to always do a little bit more, but be really, how can you say, competitive, especially away from home. He was asked, Thomas Frank, how far he thinks his side can go. He said, we're at the beginning of building something. I'm very happy with a lot of things. As I said, the defensive side of it, mentality, set pieces, but I think there's a bit we need to work on, especially offensively, to be more free-flowing still. And for me, it's a long season ahead. I'm very happy going away from home after 2 away games in the Champions League. That's a big part of it. But to continue performing day in, day out is a challenge which we embrace and want to do. Listen, it can't be forgotten. 10 big injuries we're going through at the moment. Romero, Solanke, Kulusevski, Maddison, 4 players who would pretty much definitely be in the starting 11 if they weren't injured. And then you can add the ones around that as well. So Thomas Frank is doing brilliantly. Those of you complaining about the type of football that we're playing, don't. Because we had a manager who tried to play that type of football when we had the injuries, and it showed we could not deal with it. So Thomas Frank is doing what he can with the tools that he has at his disposal, and I think we should give him props for that. He was asked how he feels about Spurs being the only unbeaten team away from home in the Premier League. He says, normally it's very difficult to do that, and it's been very difficult, no doubt about that. But I think to have a foundation where we have that solid foundation, but of course, when you go away from home, you normally need to defend a little bit more, especially where we are. And I think how we defend high pressure, but especially the middle block and the box is important. Set pieces in both boxes can make a difference on a day like today, meaning the Everton game. And then we're adding layers. And then the overall thing, as I said, is that mentality to want to run hard, and every team needs to do that. Listen, I have to say, I do think the players are working harder for Thomas Frank than they did for Ange Postecoglou. It's as simple as that. You saw the blocks yesterday. I'm really actually hopeful that maybe Thomas Frank had shown the team clips before the Everton game of some of the goals from outside the box we conceded this season, because they were really throwing their bodies on the line more yesterday. Kevin Danso was, João Paulinho was, Jed Spence, Pedro Porro, Mickey van der Ven, all getting their bodies in the way to stop shots, both in and out of the box, and that was huge. Thomas Frank, I don't know if you saw it, you should have done, him and the players were celebrating in front of the away fans after that victory. He was asked about bringing those players together to do that. He said, yes, I think it's a big part of it. I think it's important to do it when we win. It's important to do it when we draw, but also important to do it when we lose, because we're in good times and bad times together. And of course, it's a very good time today. Very happy with a win, a difficult away win. But of course, as you say, the togetherness that is on and off the pitch, that is between players, staff, fans, and the stronger that can be, the better it will be. If you haven't seen, when he was at Brentford, they were really good at showing in dressing room content on their social media. And you could see what Thomas Frank was like in terms of communication after both a win and a loss. And he's a very impressive man. You can see why he sees this togetherness as all-encompassing. Frank was asked on Mickey van der Ven not scoring any goals last season, but now he has 5 in just 14 appearances this. He said, first and foremost, I think he's really growing and taking huge steps. I'm very pleased with him. I think he's taking more leadership. I think he's defending better and better, not only using his pace, but also using more clever positioning. I'm very happy with that. And then I said, actually, at the beginning of the season, I said to Mickey, it's okay if you score with your left foot and your right foot, but I need you to score more goals with your head as well. We've worked on it, and it's big praise to Mickey, but especially to Andreas Georgeson, the way he gets him to attack the ball. Also, to get in there where it hurts is key. Now, hopefully, it will continue. Yeah, Mickey van der Ven coming on leaps and bounds this season under Thomas Frank. And again, I just think the fact that he's not having to start with quite such a high line and sprint back constantly is really enabling him to not only stay fit, but also get in better positions defensively to block the area, block the goal, and do the thing that he's paid to do first and foremost, and that is defend. Frank was also asked how important Van der Ven and Vicario have been in the absence of Christian Romero. He said, yes, absolutely. And don't forget Kevin Danso. Maybe he was not highlighted as much as the other two, but he's done very well to step into big, big shoes with Romero out. Mickey was man of the match. He clearly defended well, got 2 goals and was good on the ball. And I think Vicario was man of the match in Monaco. But today, I think his performance was more complete. Vicario was good with his feet, very good in the box, and made 2 exceptional saves. Props to Vicario. How do some of you guys feel who were calling for Kinski to come in now? I said at the time, listen, there's a conversation to be had, but Vicario has enough collateral in the bank to stay in the team, and now he's really starting to show again his elite shot stopping. 2 brilliant games in a row. Long may that continue, hopefully at Newcastle on Wednesday night in the Carabao Cup, because we will need him. I have a feeling, I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that if Spurs are going to win in at St James's Park on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup, our best chance is probably to keep it to a draw and then try and win it in penalties after 90 minutes. So we would need Vicario there. However, I guess there is a chance he might start Kinski there as it's a Carabao Cup game. Be interesting to see what Thomas Frank does. Let me know in the comments what you think he should do. Frank was asked about defensive set pieces and what he and Andreas Georgesson have done to improve our record with them. He said, I agree. Today, of course, we scored 2 goals, but it's equally important that we can keep the ball out of the net. The team did very well, and I think Andreas and Sean, our set-piece analysts, have done a top job with the team throughout from when we started to now. That's both in terms of structure of how we want to do it, but also we know when there's a structure, there's also the physicality and you need the desire. The structure and principles are very clear. I have to say, as a Spurs fan of many, many decades, I'm always absolutely cacking my pants when we concede a corner or a free kick around the box, but we have been better defending them. We're better at winning the first balls. And then, players like Bergvall when he's on the pitch, Richarlison when he was on the pitch, Johnson, Kudus, they really press out as well to try and then win a second ball to get on a transition. But very impressed with our box defending, that's for sure. Obviously, there's a lot of chat about Polina and Bentancur playing together. I've been pretty forthright in saying I think we need them. I think the reason why we're hard to beat at the moment is because of those two, and we have to stick with them. And like I said, I really like the fact that he played 2 more narrow number 10s yesterday. He was asked, Thomas Frank, about Polina and Bentancur, and did the Everton game show that it's clear what they bring when playing together? He said, I think it's very clear. I think both of them today were excellent. I think they were very good on the ball. I think they were excellent defensively, landed on the second ball when they needed to. I think we controlled the game more. I think the bounce passes and the bits and pieces to build up and control the game were very good. So in a time where we're building and going to the next level, I think they're extremely important. And I agree with him. Let me know, though, in the comments, what do you think about Polina and Bentancur? Who would you bring in? And how, if you really think that maybe Sarr or Bergvall should come in for one of them, how do you think then we will defend better down the centre of our midfield than we did under Ange Postecoglou when we had only Bentancur and then a Sarr or a Bergvall or Maddison? How will we stop it from just being 1 or 2 passes straight down the middle of the pitch to getting into our backline? That's what I'm most worried about. Relevantly, João Polina has the highest percentage of duels won amongst Premier League players who have contested 75 plus duels this season with a 63.46% rate. Fantastic. What a signing on loan he's been so far. And I would sign him up longer, that's for sure. He could easily be our defensive midfielder for the next 2-3 years. Thomas Frank was asked about Xavi Simons, who didn't have his best game, and whether he thinks that potentially Simons building up a relationship with Randall Kolo Muani could help. He said, I like Xavi. I think he found some good positions. Maybe the final actions are still missing, but I think there were some good actions. He just needs to keep going, keep building, and keep working on it. I was impressed with Randall Kolo Muani yesterday. He doesn't look like full fitness, but he can hold it up so much stronger than Richarlison. And that's what got us to that corner for the first goal. Vitally important when he turned Tarkowski into the box and won a corner from there. So let's see what happens with Randall Kolo Muani. I wonder if maybe he'll get a rest from the start against Newcastle to then maybe start at the weekend, although Solanke is coming back, but I think it'll be too soon for Solanke for either of these games. Frank was also asked about Pedro Porro's corners. He said, I think we have a plan to play close to the goal, but it's sometimes difficult to hit it that precisely all the time, as in he wants him to whip them as close to the keeper as he can. But as long as it's in a very good area, close to goal, then there's more opportunities to potentially score. That was a brilliant delivery for that second goal from Pedro Porro. And people who used to complain about Christian Eriksen always hitting the first man, he hit the first man so much because he was asked to literally put that ball at pace just over the first man's head. And when it worked, we scored loads of goals from them, particular Eric Dyer, Toby Alderweireld, Lucas Moura, to name but 3. And Pedro Porro now putting it on a dime as well for Mickey van der Ven in front of Pickford yesterday. I think it was fantastic. Frank was asked more about Kolo Muani's first start. He said, it was pleasing to see the first 60-minute start. He's still building his physicality and sharpness. I'm pleased with what I saw, but it's the first steps, so there's more to come. I think at times I like some of the movement, the interactions with the front four, but it's an ongoing project or process. So like I said, will he start against Newcastle? Would you start Kolo Muani against Newcastle, or maybe start Richarlison with Kolo Muani in mind for Chelsea at home at the weekend? Let me know in the comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Do press like on this video if you're on YouTube. Do subscribe to the channel for daily Tottenham Hotspur news and views and transfer stories, of course. Of course, please also follow me on the podcast platforms, be that Apple or Spotify. Just type in the Spurred On podcast to the search engine and give me a follow, a rating, and a review. Enjoy the rest of your Mondays. Come on, you Spurs.